Hi, this is Coach MK. What an awesome mantra you're going to hear today. It's amazing. One of my besties, my ride or die, was a charity runner this year because she is the CEO of a major healthcare organization and didn't have time to chase qualifications. She's a badass runner in her own right. She ran track at Yale. She has always viewed her way into Boston as a different way, not an easy way, not a lesser way, because she had to fundraise $7,500. That is hard. If you disagree, if you think fundraising is really super easy, I'd love your help. My daughter is running Laps for Lincoln to fundraise for her local public elementary school, and any tips you could give would be amazeballs. I'm not asking for her. I'm making her call everyone and solicit individually. So if you'd like to volunteer to receive a phone call from Cheyenne and help her learn how frickin' easy fundraising is, please email info@coachedandloved.com. Again, that's info, I-N-F-O, at COACHEDANDLOVED.com. Thanks! Today's episode is sponsored by Karma Project. There are 37 million vehicles across 19 manufacturers that have been recalled so far for having a deadly Takata airbag. 37 million! Do some good by alerting your friends and family about this recall and earn a $5 reward for checking your own vehicle. Chances are really good you or someone you know has a recalled Takata airbag in their vehicle right now. Both driver and front passenger position airbags are affected. This means that you and your passengers could be at risk of being killed or seriously injured by metal fragments shooting out of your airbag. I check to make sure I'm not affected, and it's important to me that all of you out there are also checking to see whether or not you're safe. All you have to do is take a picture of your license plate, then visit deadlyairbag.com/health. It takes just a minute, and for a limited time, you can get a $5 reward for doing it. Check now at deadlyairbag.com/health. It's urgent. Do not put this off. Check now at deadlyairbag.com/health.
Sometimes I have a little thought about something, and then I sit down at my computer and I start to write about it, and then I realize, oh, I'm really fucking pissed about this thing right here. Hi, this is Coach Sarah, and this is the Morning Mantra.
Hi, my name is MK Fleming. I'm a run coach based in Denver, Colorado. But this isn't a podcast about running exactly. Don't tell my clients, but we're never really talking about the running. When you know a craptastic event is coming, it helps to have a mantra to keep you centered and focused as you move through it. You don't have to be an athlete to be #coached and loved by Coach MK, and if you are here, then you are #winning at life.
Today's mantra is no such thing. No such thing. I'm feeling a little salty about the Boston Marathon. In the week since the marathon was run, I've heard a lot of people talking about it, read a lot of people writing about it, always making sure to specify that, oh, so-and-so qualified in this pointed way, as if that's supposed to tell me something about them that I need to know lest I get the wrong idea. But it didn't rise to the level of, I need to record a mantra about this, until I read the way Peter Sagal put it in The Incomplete Book of Running. He says, and I quote, "For a quote-unquote serious runner, charity running can have a disreputable air. The Boston Marathon, as said, requires entrants to qualify by running a sufficiently fast time at a prior accredited marathon. Or, if you don't want to put in the work, sign up with some charity, promise to raise or donate a set amount of money, and they'll give you a bib. Easy." End quote. This is part of Peter Sagal's preamble to a story about running a 1-mile race for charity and realizing that running for charity is pretty satisfying, actually, not to mention important, good, appreciated, and difficult. And yet those words leap off the page at me, if you don't want to put in the work. I know that Peter Sagal doesn't really think of charity running this way anymore. He didn't think of it that way when he wrote the book, but he's verbalizing this very baked-in attitude about running the Boston Marathon for charity and just kind of tossing it off, the way so many people toss it off, as if pledging to raise thousands of dollars for a charity while also training for an extremely challenging endurance event that is likely to take you close to 4 hours, if not twice that long, to complete does not constitute work. Since reading that line in the book, I've been unable to shake it. It's been rattling around in my brain as I've heard less forthright, but no less transparent to me, disparagement of charity runners everywhere. When I hear that reassurance that so-and-so qualified for the Boston Marathon, you may not be saying the second half of that sentence, but it's screaming out loud nonetheless, because you know they put in the work. As if there were any such thing as a marathoner who doesn't put in the work. When I read that sentence in Peter Sagal's book, it made my stomach turn, but as I thought about it, I realized that it wasn't him I was mad at. After all, he did run for charity, and then he did it again. And the defining episode of that book is the one in which he guides a visually impaired runner to the finish line of the Boston Marathon in 2013. It's a beautiful story, and I cried when I read it, even though I'd heard him tell it before more than once. Peter Sagal is an introspective, thoughtful writer who is even at times too hard on himself. I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at a culture where the default assumption when we look at someone who struggles is that they should just put in the work and they'll get what they want. I'm mad at a sport, and specifically at this event, in which I want so badly to participate someday, that has taught so many of us to rank ourselves in this way. I'm mad at myself because this is what I hear when I read that sentence. If you had really put in the work, Coach Sarah, maybe you would have qualified for Boston by now. If you'd put in the work, maybe you would have gotten a tenure-track job instead of quitting academia. If you put in the work, maybe you would be thin. It goes on. It doesn't get less dark. Never mind the multitudes of uncontrollable forces influencing the path towards every single one of those quote-unquote goals. I imagine that this is what people are thinking when they look at me, but the only person I know for sure is thinking it is myself. Either I didn't work hard enough to run fast, get tenure, be thin, or those things are just inherently out of reach for mediocre, ordinary me. And I'm not sure which conclusion is worse. Someone recently gave my 3-year-old daughter a book called Bloom that I never get tired of, no matter how many times we read it. It's by Doreen Cronin and David Small, and it's about a girl named Genevieve who saves a kingdom from ruin. The king and queen send Genevieve into the woods alone to find Bloom, the magical fairy who they know has the power to repair their castle. The castle, by the way, is made of glass, and it's literally falling apart. They tell Genevieve that she is the one who must go do this, because she is, and they say it with disdain and remove, ordinary. What we, the readers, know, even though they won't say it to Genevieve, is that they, the king and queen, have already tried to do this. They have each in turn tromped through the forest themselves, tried to impress Bloom with their royalty and make her do their bidding and repair their castle. And both the king and the queen have failed and returned to the broken kingdom with nothing. They are asking Genevieve to go because she can do things they can't. But the only way they can call upon her power without compromising their own is to call her ordinary, expendable, and Genevieve believes them. Bloom, however, sees right through that bullshit, and when Genevieve arrives and asks whether Bloom has any magic that can save the kingdom, Bloom tells her to grab a handful of mud and get to work. Together they transform a mud pit and a straw pile into sturdy bricks. Then they mix mortar and they build walls. And when their house is finished, Bloom tells Genevieve to go back to the kingdom and share her magic. They will never believe that an ordinary girl could do such an extraordinary thing, Genevieve says doubtfully. What would I tell them? Tell them there is no such thing as an ordinary girl, said Bloom. I tell you that to tell you this. Fuck anyone who disparages the work you do, whether out loud or in the unspoken second half of a totally unnecessary sentence. Parenting an only child is easy? There is no such thing as easy parenting. Running a marathon for charity is easy? There is no such thing as an easy marathon. We all do different work to achieve the things we care about. Anyone who looks at someone else's work and acts like it's lesser or expendable work would prefer not to admit that they're not sure they could do it. This mantra is for you, but it's also for me, because I am no longer going to let that shit stand when it comes to the Boston Marathon. Not even in the presence of my own family, and not even in the presence of feathers I'd rather not ruffle. For the next person who wants to act in my presence like the marathon anyone runs is a lesser marathon, I will tell you straight up, no such thing.
You are coached, you are loved, and you are winning at life. And you are definitely winning at life if you subscribe to my Nuzzlenut newsletter, follow me on Facebook, or follow me on Instagram. Feel free to do all three.
It's time. Maintain is ready to launch. Head on over to www.fitnessprotection.com, opt into the mailing list, and you will receive an email with detailed instructions the day we're ready to go. Spoiler alert, that day's coming soon. Get on the mailing list now. Yay!